Right day class. So today we're going to tackle about the demography. So when we say demography, it is a scientific study of determinants and consequences of human population trends, which it is the human population focusing on how they grow, change, and move over time. It helps us understand patterns in birth, death, and migration, as well as the effects these patterns have on society. And when we say demographic transition, it refers to the transition from high birth and death rates to low birth and death rates as a country develops from pre-industrial to un-industrial economic system, which describes how population shift from high birth and death rates to low birth and death rates as country develop and improve its living conditions. And of a political or administrative unit for a certain minimum period of time. It includes the movement of refugees, displaced persons, uprooted people, as well as economic migrants from one country to another, or international migration, or from one place to another within the same country, or international migration. And when we say migrant, any person who is moving or has moved across an international border or within a state away from his or her habitual place of residence, regardless of the person's legal status, whether the movement as a voluntary or involuntary, or number 3, what the causes for the movement are, and lastly, what the length of the stay in. And it also considered a migrant regardless of their legal status, whether they move willingly or not, the reason for moving, and how long they will stay. And when we say demography, a massive increase of billions of people occurred no less than 200 years ago. This is a global demographic transition brought by momentous changes, reshaping the economic, demographic life cycles of individuals and restructuring populations. Clearly, before the transition, the growth of world population is close to stationary, depicting life is short. Births were many, growth is slow, and the population is young. Since 1800, global population size has already increased by a factor of 6, and by 2100 will increase by a factor of 6, and at rising by a factor of 10. There will then be 50 times as many elderlies but only 5 times as many children. Thus, the ratio of elders to children will have risen by a factor of 10. Then the length of life, which has already more than doubled, will have tripled, while birth per woman will have dropped from 6 to 2. So since 1800, the world population became 6 times bigger. And aging population, there will be 50 times more elderly people, but only 5 more children, meaning more old people, fewer children compared to before. And in life expectancy of them, as long ago, people lived short lives. Now, life expectancy has more than doubled. By 2100, it may even triple. Example, from maybe 30 years to 70 years, possibly to 90 years. And birth rate changes also. Women used to have around 6 children. Now, the average is closer to 2 children per woman.
Once again, good afternoon everyone. Now I was tasked to discuss the Malthusian theory. So in the first bullet, it said there that Thomas Malthus was the first to give attention to births and deaths. He wrote the essay on the principle of population. He said population grows fast or geometric, but food grows slow or arithmetic. So Malthus noticed that people increase very fast, but food and resources increase slowly, and now this creates an imbalance between population and food supply. Malthus said the difference between fast population growth and slow food growth will increase tension or pressure, so the gap cannot last long. When population grows faster than food, problems will appear, which are the shortages, the hunger, and the competition for resources. He said population and the economy stay in balance. If population grows faster, wages go down, and debts go up because of famine, war, or disease. He called this the misery. So if there are too many people and few resources, jobs become few, income becomes low, and people suffer. Now this suffering naturally slows population growth. Then low wages also lead people to delay marriage, and some turn to prostitution or other vices. He called this preventive check. When people earn little, they avoid starting a family because they cannot support it. Some turn to unsafe or immoral behaviors instead of stable relationships. So population will also always grow faster than the economy. So misery and vice will always control it. Only moral restraint, delaying or the delaying marriage and staying chaste can stop this. But Malthus said this is unlikely. So he believed that suffering and bad behaviors will keep population under control unless people practice self-control. But he did not think many people could do this. Now we'll proceed to the population explosion. So what Malthus predicted did not fully happen. Death rates did not rise. Instead, world population grew very fast, from 1 billion in 1800s to 6 billion by 2000. The Industrial Revolution made food and technology grow faster than Malthus expected. So it is because of machines, better farming, medicine, and technology, people live longer and produce more food. So this caused population to grow more than what Malthus had imagined. That would be all. Thank you.
Now, let's proceed to the demographic transition. So, during the first half of the 29th century, demographers conceived the notion of demographic transition. So, the demographic transition framework illustrates population growth in terms of discrepancies and changes in two growth vital rates, which is the mortality and the fertility. So strip off the essentials, demographic transitions refers to the transition from high birth and death rates to low birth and death rates as a country develops from pre-industrial to an industrialized economic system. So in short, the demographic transition model is a framework used by demographers to show how the population size and growth changes over time as a country develops. So it focuses on two major factors, which is the growth birth rate and the growth death rate. And the demographic transition, it also has four main stages. Number one is the pre-industrial society. It is high and unstable birth and death rates, population growth rates low, importance of children, and low life expectancy. So the reasons for changes in birth rates is number one, children are needed for farming. They were needed for the manual labor. Number two, they die at an early age due to illnesses. Number three, no family planning and conception or giving birth is encouraged by religion and society. So the reasons for changes in death rate, number one is the disease, since In pre-industrial society, there is no hospitals or medicines that time, and famine, meaning it is an extreme and severe hunger, or the shortage of food in a region, leading to widespread of hunger, the malnutrition, and death. And number 3 is the poor medical knowledge. And now let's proceed to the number 2. Step 2 is early industrial society. It is still high in birth rates and slowly the falling death rate and high population growth. So reasons for changes in birth rate. So still number 1 is children are needed for farming. Number 2, they die at an early age due to an illnesses. Then still there is no family planning and conception, or the giving birth is encouraged by religion and society. So the reasons for changes in death rates, number 1, there is an improvements in medical care. There is vaccines or basic hospitals. Number 2 is the water supply and sanitation. And number 3 is fewer children die. Then step 3, which is the late industrial society. So there is low in death rate, the falling of birth rate, and high population growth. So the reasons for changes in birth rate is the improve of medical care and diet. So number 2, which is the fewer children are needed for work, since more people works in cities and not in farms. And the reasons for changes in death rate, which is the improvements in medical care. So there's an improvement. There is an hospital, some medicines and vaccines. The improvements of water supply and sanitation. Then fewer children die. So the last stage, which is the post-industrial society, the low birth and death rates and low population growth. So reasons for changes in birth rate. So there is family planning. So the use of family planning and the contraception is increased. Then good health, and later on for marriage. Then reasons for changes in death rate is still the good healthcare. So there is an improvement of the healthcare and the hospitals and the reliable food supply, and people are living much longer. So in summary, based on the demographic transition model, it can be argued that model, because the industrialized countries underwent a dramatic change that resulted to lower population growth rate, the developing countries can emulate this for the rates of population growth become lower. So the demographic transition model explains how the population size and growth changes over time as a country develops. So this gave rise to idea that if the developing countries improve their healthcare, their education and economy, so they will eventually reach the lower birth rates and the population growth, for example, as the industrialized countries did.
Criticism of demographic transition theory. The demographic transition theory is characterized for being Eurocentric because it was developed based on the experience of the Western countries like Europe, America, and Japan. So it assumed that all countries will follow the same pattern of declining birth and death rates, so which is not always true for less developed nation. Another criticism is that the timing and speeds of the transition vary greatly, so it is difficult to predict when or if the country will move through each stage. So lastly, modern conditions are very different from when Western countries transition, so the theory may not fully explain current population trends in developing the countries. So next, proceed the other slide. Fertility transition theory. The fertility transition theory explains that fertility rate in less developed countries are declining faster than the rate once experienced by developed countries. So the rapid decline is strongly linked to the increased use of modern contraceptive, so which allows couples to control the family size more effectively. So today, mass media plays a major role in spreading information about contraception, so making it easier for people to access knowledge and adopt family planning methods. As a result, fertility levels drop more quickly than in the past. Next, the fertility transition theory. Emphasizes that declining fertility is not driven by economic development alone. Instead, the key factor is the shift in cultural attitude. So people begin to prefer smaller families. So this change in mindset combined with a willingness to use contraception and the availability of the modern contraceptives, it leads to significant drop in fertility rates. So in short, attitude change plus access to contraceptions are the main drivers of fertility decline. Next, proceed to the last slide. So despite the spread of family planning programs, resistance to birth control remains widespread because contraceptives are often costly to produce, distribute, and to promote, making them less accessible in the poorer regions. So the religious belief can strongly oppose contraception, blocking or limiting birth control initiatives. In addition, several societal issues contribute to low contraceptive use. The low status of the women, their limited political and economic rights, and the lack of access to education. So these barriers prevent many women from making information choices about family size and the reproductive health. So did you all follow our discussion? If yes, I will be the one to question you. How do cultural and societal factors hinder the effectiveness of family planning and birth control program in less developed countries? Yes, very good, because it is cultural and societal factors such as strong religious opposition, traditional belief, favoring large families, and the low status of women often limit the acceptance of the birth control programs. Additionally, when women lack education and economic or the political rights, they have less ability to make informed reproductive choices. So these conditions make it difficult for family planning efforts to succeed even when contraceptives are available. So did you all understand, class? Thank you, class.
So let's move on to global migration. Global migration is a complex phenomenon shaped by economic, social, security, and other interconnected factors in an increasingly globalized world. It involves diverse types of human movement and situations. Migration is deeply linked with geopolitics, trade, and cultural exchange, creating significant opportunities and benefits for countries, businesses, communities, and culture. In short, global migration means people move from one country to another. It happens for many reasons, like money, safety, family, school, or even culture. Because countries today are all connected, and internet, trade, travel, and global migration affects economies, culture, and even security. Just like, for example, nurse from the Philippines work in Canada to earn more for her family. Next, since the earliest times, humanity has been the move. Some people move in search of labor or economic opportunities to join family or to study. However, not all migration happens in positive circumstances. Others move to escape conflict, persecution, terrorism, or human rights violations. Similarly, others move in response to the adverse effects of climate change, natural disaster, or other environmental factors. So, people have always moved from place to place. People move for good reason like getting a job, studying abroad, or joining a family. But others move because they forced to escape danger like war, violence, discrimination, or disaster. Just like for example, for opportunities. So a student goes to Japan to study. And another example is forced to move. A family leaving their homes because of typhoons or war that destroy their area. Next. Today, more people than ever before live in a country other than the one in which they were born. In 2017, the number of migrants reached 258 million compared to about 173 million in 2000. However, the proportion of international migrants in the world population is only slightly higher than that recorded over past decades, equaling 3.4% in 2017 compared to 2.8% in 2000 and 2.3% in 1980. While many individuals migrate out of choice, many others migrate out of necessity. There are approximately 68 million forcibly displaced persons, including over 25 million refugees, 3 million asylum seekers, and over 40 million internally displaced persons in United Nations 2017. So, right now, there are more migrants than ever before. In 2017, around 258 million people live in different countries, but even though the number is big, it's still only a small part of the whole world's population, around 3.4%. Some people move by choice, but many are forced like refugees and displaced families. Just like, for example, a family leaving their countries because of conflicts and seeking safety somewhere else. This part of the 68 million forcibly displaced people.
So bright afternoon everyone. So today we proceed to another topic, but before that, let's have an energizer. So I will read the statement, then if this statement is applies to you, then you move to the right. If not, then you move to the left. So the first statement is, move if you have ever moved to a new house. So you move to the right if the statement implies to you, and move to the left if the statement does not. Again, first statement. If you move if you have ever moved to a new house. Alright, thank you. Next statement. Move if you have relatives working abroad. Or if you have a family FWs. Move to the right, it implies to you, and move to the left, it is not. Another statement. Move if you know someone who transfers schools. Do you have any idea that you have someone who transfers schools? Okay, thank you. Next. Move if you have traveled to another province or city. Okay, thank you. Last one. Move if you have heard the word migrant or migration. Okay, thank you so much everyone for your participation. So now, what do you think our topic this afternoon? Do you have an idea? Yes, correct. It is migrant. So, who is migrants? According to the International Organization for Migrations, which is the IOM, a migrant is anyone who moves from one place to another to live temporarily or permanently. A person is considered a migrant no matter what the legal status is, whether they choose to move or were forced with the move, how long they plan to stay. So in short, a migrant is anyone who changes their usual home either within their country or to another country. So that is the migrants. So there are two types of migrants. The first one is the labor or economic migrants. So these are people people who move mainly to find works, improve their living condition, join family members, all already abroad, and they will go there to, it's called family reunifications. And they usually move by choice to seek better opportunities. Okay, and another one is the forced migrant. These forced migrants, these are the people who are forced to leave their homes because of serious problems such as war, violence, persecution, natural disaster. Forced migrants include asylum seekers and refugees. So what is asylum seekers? These asylum seekers is someone who has well-founded fear of persecution due to factors such as race, religion, nationality, political opinions, or membership in a particular social group, and therefore cannot or is unwilling to return their home countries for protection. So in short, these asylum seekers, these are the someone who leaves their country because they fear harm or persecute goes to another country to ask for protection, is waiting for the government to decide if they are qualified as a refugee. If the government rejects the request, they must usually leave the country, but sometimes they may stay for humanitarian reasons. Okay? You understand what is asylum seekers? Now let's proceed to the refugee. How about the refugees? So refugees, in the other hand, it is someone who has well-founded fear of being harmed or persecuted because of their race, religion, nationality, or political beliefs, or membership in a social group, cannot return to their home countries because it is unsafe, and it is unable or willing to seek help from their own government. So meaning, refugees are protected by international laws to ensure their safety. Okay? Another one. I have here the examples of the migrants. And now let's see or let's examine what kinds of or which category belong this scenario. Now let's have first number one. So Omar flees his countries because he faces persecution due to his religion. He cannot return home because it is unsafe. And his government will not protect him. Okay? What do you think categories belong this scenario? Yes, correct. It is refugees. Why it is refugee? It's because he has founded fear of persecution based on religion. So, another one. Number two, another scenario. Laila received death threats on her home country because of her political opinions. She escaped to France and applies for protections. She waits for the government to decide whether she can be recognized as refugees. Okay? What do you think? What do you think categories these scenarios belong? Yes, very good. It is asylum seekers. Why it is asylum seekers? It's because she is asking for protection and waiting for the decisions of the government. Okay, so another one, the last one. Summer lives in a country experiencing civil war. Armed groups threaten people from his ethnic community because it is not longer safe. So Summer flees to a neighboring country to protect himself. So what do you think category this scenario belong? Yes, correct. It is forced migrant. Why is it forced migrant? It's because he was compelled to migrate due to war and danger. So, meaning, Summer forced to migrate because of the war, and it's not safe to stay in her place. So I hope guys you understand better about the migrants. What is the migrants again to review? Yes, very good. So migrants, it is a people that transfer or they are transferred from one place to another place. They're moving from their hometown, moving to the other nation or the other place or within the countries. Okay.
Let's proceed to the drivers of migration. Drivers of migration are forces which lead to the inception of migrations and to the perpetuation of movement, according to Massey et al. 1998. So, migration drivers are the personal reasons that push people to leave their homes and keep moving, whether for safety, survival, and a chance of a better life. People migrate because they are searching for a more stable and more hopeful life, whether through better job opportunities, safer living conditions, education, or simply the basic rights and respect that they have not received in their homes or in the community. People may decide to move because of a crisis,
whether caused by nature or by human. And more often now, the environment around them is changing, and the way these different factors interact across places, distance, time shapes how the government and international organizations can protect migrants, guide migration properly, and make sure its benefits are shared. Some of the drivers of migration are as follows. Number one, economic and demographic drivers. When there are few jobs, low income, high poverty, rapid population growth, or not enough food, people feel pressured to live in a search of a place where their basic needs can be met or where they have a better chance of stability and success. Environmental drivers. Environmental drivers are factors such as climate change, natural disasters, and environmental degradations that weakens people's safety and livelihood. When these problems becomes too severe, especially in climate vulnerable countries, they often push individuals and communities to migrate, depending on how risky or unsafe they feel to their community. Number three, human-made crises. Human-made crises such as conflicts, violence, corruptions, and the failure to uphold human rights create unsafe and difficult living conditions that often push people to migrate. In a place where corruptions and poor governance are widespread, people are more likely to leave, while countries with lower corruption levels tend to attract migrants, showing that corruptions may not directly cause migrations, but strongly contributes to the decision to move. Global migration is something that people around the world experience, whether they are moving for hope, safety, or for new opportunities. It has become an important part of reaching the Sustainable Development Goals in the 2030 Agenda because it shapes communities, families, and future. By understanding the different types of migrants, it helps us see the many stories behind each journey.